everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amber and this is my May TBR. I have a tendency, if you don't already know, to be way too ambitious for my TBRs. In April, I basically only read maybe 2 books from the books that I showed you. That's really quite annoying because I was really excited for all of them, but I got into a bit of a slump and then I only read graphic novels and Lore Olympus pretty much for the entire month. Spoilers for my April wrap up. But I am at it again. I'm going to try my best this month in May to read a ton of books from my TBR and get those numbers down. I recently got new bookshelves. They're built in, they're custom made, they're fantastic. I will give you a bookshelf tour soon, so subscribe if you're interested in that. But it has made me realise that I have a real problem with certain genres because I have way too many books in those genres and I need to start whittling those down. So that's what I'm going to try to do this month. Also, another one of my goals for the year was to read books close to the time that I bring them in, as close to when I buy them as possible, so that I am still feeling the enthusiasm for them. So a lot of these are going to be crossovers from my most recent book haul because I'm trying to get to them while the hype is intense, and others are ones that I've been meaning to read or reread for quite a while and I'm finally in the mood to get to them once and for all and get them off of my shelf. So I think what we're going to start with is, well, I don't really know where to start. Let's just go with the book that is right in front of me, and that is The Final Strife. This one is one that I had from NetGalley last year. I didn't get to it unfortunately because I was in an ebook slump, and so I bought this very recently from Waterstones. I don't know much about this. It's an adult fantasy book about some sort of competition where people have to compete to become emperor or empress. There are sort of trials to do with that. I've heard amazing things about this book. Some people who share very similar interests to me have absolutely loved it, and the sequel is coming out either this month or in a couple of months time, so this is the perfect time to get to it. I'm really excited for this one, and I'm also really excited because it's one that I only brought in recently, so it's not going to be sat on my TBR shelf for ages. Another one I would really like to read is Undercover Princess. This one is an ARC copy. I received it unsolicited years ago from the publisher and I haven't really heard anyone talk about it at all. This is the first book in a series and I believe it's YA contemporary and I don't really know much else about it. The back doesn't really give much away. It says that it's the debut book, the first book in the Rosewood Chronicles. I think it takes place in a boarding school, and yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it at least. I'm really in the mood for some contemporary this month and I don't really have many of those on my TBR shelf, to be honest, so I'm going to read this, clear the way for some new books maybe, and get this off my TBR. And if I don't like it, then I can just DNF it because it was a free book. I didn't request it or anything, so that's fine with me. I also really want to read The Lamplighters. This is historical fiction, I guess. It's set in 1972 in Cornwall in the UK. It's about 3 people who vanish from a lighthouse. The door was locked from the inside and no one knows how they vanished, and I think it's based on a true story, but this book is entirely fiction. It's kind of a mystery about what happened to the people in the tower. I really like the sound of this one. It sounds very suspenseful, very mysterious, and my friend Marlene said that she's obsessed with lighthouses for some reason. I don't really know why, so I need to tell her what I think of it. So I've put this on my TBR for this month. It's one that I bought quite recently as well, or fairly recently, so it'll be good to get this off my TBR very, very quickly. Another one that I bought recently and that was in my April book haul was The First 15 Lives of Harry August. This one is about a guy called Harry who keeps dying and then waking up again and experiencing new lives. I believe he wakes up again as a child who still has the memories of his lives before, and one day as he is dying from I think his 11th life, someone comes to him with a message. I really love time travel stuff, so I think this is going to be amazing. I've had it on my wishlist for the longest time, and when I found it in the charity shop last month I was so excited. I think I'm going to love this one. I love the sound of it. I'm probably going to get to this one first in May, to be honest, because it does sound really, really good. Okay, so those are the books that don't have some sort of like project or theme involved, and now I'm going to move on to some rereads because I do have quite a few books I want to reread this month. First of all, we have Pivot Point by Casey West. This was Casey West's debut back in I think 2013. It's a sci-fi book, or kind of like sci-fi contemporary. The main character has the ability to travel between parallel worlds, or experience parallel worlds rather, and she has a choice to make in this book. It's YA. I loved it when I first read it. I gave it 5 stars. I read this and Altered, which you can see here somewhere, very close together, and this was an amazing release year, to be honest. I loved it so much. I don't know if I'm still going to enjoy it, so what I'm going to do is reread this, see if I still love it, and then if I do, I'm going to finally buy the sequel, which I have read but I didn't buy. I think I received an art copy of it. So if I do love it, I can keep this book on my shelf, collect the sequel, and then they can look really good on my shelf together because these hardbacks do look very cute. And like I said, I love books about time travel. This is parallel universes, so it's slightly different, but it's the same sort of like vibe that I like to go for, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. Another reread that I want to do is Shift by Hugh Howey. This is the sequel to Wall, which I reread quite recently, maybe like a year ago, and I've just learned that the show is now out, and I watched the trailer. It looks really, really good, so I would like to reread this one before watching the show, and then finally get to the final book in the trilogy and finish this off, because I've never read the final book. The publisher sent me these beautiful hardcovers, and I read books 1 and 2 but never got around to 3 because I'm just really bad at finishing series. I've also never recapped this one for Recaptain, so I'd like to do that as well. In case you don't know, this is the Silo trilogy, and in this world Earth is uninhabitable, and so humans have been moved to a silo, which is underground, protected from the nuclear air or whatever's going on up on Earth. And as you go further down, the classes are basically seen as kind of lesser, and so you get kind of like the working class and the mechanics on the lowest floors, and then as you go higher up you start to get like politicians and more like important people, and then certain secrets start to come out one day. I really enjoyed the first one. I gave it 5 stars. I loved this one when I read it as well. I think I gave it 4 stars, but it wasn't as good as the first book, so I'd be interested to know if I still really like this, and I really want to know how this trilogy ends as well. And then finally, for my reread project, I'm going to reread Hex Hall. This is Rachel Hawkins' debut, and it's about a main character who goes to a boarding school for people with paranormal powers. She's a witch, and there are various different paranormal powers, I think, and I loved this when I was younger. It was amazing. I hope that I still love it, because I'd like to keep it on my shelf, because I also have books 2 and 3, which I also read and really loved. There was a really cool ship in here. I really liked the main character and her powers and the secrets that were coming out. I like there's a mystery in this as well, which was really well told and thought out. It's blurbed by Becca Fitzpatrick, which is quite funny, author of Hush Hush. I really enjoy books about boarding school, and I think this is going to give me the kind of old school YA feels. I'm really, really looking forward to rereading it. I hope that I love it, and then I can also reread books 2, which is Demon Glass, and 3, which is Spellbound, and then read the spin-off book, because I've never read that one. I can't even remember what it's called. I'm actually kind of tempted to read Hex Hall today now that I'm talking about it, so if you see this in my April wrap-up, don't be surprised, because I'm recording this video a few days early. Like I said, I really, really hope that I enjoy this series. Okay, and then moving on to a couple of books that I'm reading for a reading project. Those are 2 books by Kate Alice Marshall. You can probably guess what kind of reading project I'm doing for these. The first one is These Fleeting Shadows, which is about a young girl, teenager, who inherits a house and a ton of money from her grandfather when he dies, but the family don't actually go back to this house ever because something weird must have happened there, and the main character is very intrigued to know what happened and what was wrong. That's all I know about it. I really like Kate Alice Marshall's books. They're always very mysterious, paranormal horror-esque, and so I'm looking forward to reading this one. And then she also came out with an adult debut thriller earlier this year, and I got this from the library. I'm really looking forward to reading it. I don't know anything about it because I don't read synopses for thrillers, so I'm going into this one completely blind. I think it's going to be excellent. I have such high hopes for both of these because she's an author that I really enjoy. I've liked every book of hers that I have read, some more than others, but you'll have to watch my video on her books to find out which ones I like the best. And then I have some library/NetGalley books that I requested. Actually, one of these isn't NetGalley, it's just one that I got from the library. I'll show you that one first. That is The Fine Print. This is a TikTok romance book, I believe. It's about 2 main characters. One of them is a billionaire, a man who runs an amusement park. I think he inherited it from his family, and then the woman is someone who goes to work at the amusement park, and I guess they get together and fall for each other. I don't know if I'm going to love this, but I'm basically just reading it because it's famous on TikTok, and also so I can recap it for Recaptains. The things I do for my website, I swear to God. Yeah, I don't have high hopes for this. I think it's going to be very dramatic and over the top, but I'm looking forward to trying it at least and seeing what all the hype is about. And if I do like it, it's a whole series, so that's good news for me. And then the last 3 books I want to show you are NetGalley books that I also requested from the library because I'm not in an ebook slump anymore, but I do prefer to read books physically at the moment, so it always helps to get the books from the library, even if I have to wait until after the release date to get them. It's probably not the best practice, but the publishers who approve me for these books don't seem to mind. They probably like the publicity, to be honest, where I'm showing you the physical copy. So first of all, we have The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz, who I have read from before, I think. This is a sci-fi book about terraformers. The main character is working on a terraforming project on a different planet, and this project has been passed down through generations and it's kind of like a family business sort of thing. And then she discovers some people who have been living in a dormant volcano, and she starts to realise that maybe this project isn't the best. You can imagine what kind of themes are going to come out of this. I'm really excited to try this. I have really high hopes for it, and I'm always interested in reading stories about terraforming and colonizing new planets, because the themes surrounding that are always very interesting to read about. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I might be reading this with my friend Justine because I know that she bought it recently, so I'm looking forward to getting to that. I also have Red Dirt Road, which is an Australian crime book. The tagline is 1 outback town, 2 murders and 50 suspects. Like I said, I don't really read synopses for thrillers or crime books for that matter, because they tend to give too much away. But apparently this author is becoming quite popular in, I think, Australia. It says they've released 2 other books and they used to be in the UK police, UK police force. That's fine, I will try not to judge him prematurely. I think this is going to be very fast paced. I'm glad that I requested it from NetGalley because crime fiction is a little bit out of my comfort zone. I tend to read thrillers rather than crime, but I do tend to really enjoy crime and thrillers set in Australia. It's just a really interesting setting to me, with so many tiny towns in the middle of nowhere. Everyone is so isolated and it's often not the best kind of like weather or setting to try to survive. I just think the weather and the climate adds an extra element to these kinds of stories, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And then finally, the last book that I want to show you is Hungry Ghosts. This one is set in Trinidad. It's a historical book as well. I think it's set in the 1940s, and there's some sort of mystery happening there. I haven't reread the synopsis since I requested it from NetGalley, just because I read about the mystery and then wanted to forget whatever else was happening, so it didn't spoil anything. But it says here that the story is harrowing, fiercely beautiful and deeply human. Someone else said that it's psychologically profound, which, big words, big words. We'll see. I'm really looking forward to trying it. I've read a book set on Tobago, I think, but I've not read anything set on Trinidad yet, so that's exciting. I'm looking forward to exploring this setting. It should be really interesting and hopefully very captivating as well. So those are all of the books that I'm hoping to read in May. I do need to start whittling down on my physical TBR, like I said, but I'm going to do a whole video on that. It's going to be related to my zero TBR videos. Like I said, I'm going to do a bookshelf tour. I'm going to show you my entire physical TBR pile as well in 2 separate videos, and then I'll probably do a zero TBR update in maybe a month or so's time, so that you can see what's going on with my TBR piles, where I need to focus, because I can tell you now I have a fantasy book series problem. And I realised that I run a book recapping website, but I need to actually read the books that I am buying. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you like the idea. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you'll be reading in May, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Bye.